Thanks, guys. Yeah, so I'm Sebastian. Here we are. What are we in general talking about? We talk about the CPaaS platform, but the CPaaS platform is embedded in what we call a digital service platform. Now, if Dean Bubley would be here, we would call out digital, the world digital. What does it mean? Everything has been digital for a long time, and that's certainly true. But from a wholesale perspective, it means many things. It means, on one hand, making the services we sell more accessible. So we have some services here that are still managed by sending Excel files from left to right, orders to Excel, and other stuff through Excel. So certainly automating this, providing APIs to the customer, looking at the processes, improving these processes is in it. That's, for example, what we do with the Numbers Universe, where we make buying and selling phone numbers for our partners much easier. It's more of a management API, but it's very important. Then we have some of the other APIs, identity and network API, as mentioned, which is a different service category that was never there before, that came in new. And then we have the APIs we created now that we want to talk about for a business that existed, and especially in the wholesale world, for a long time. So we are, I wouldn't say we're an aggregator, but we have an aggregation platform. So we are a telco that has its own aggregation business. The unit I'm with has handled in the past all the inter-carrier traffic, so every traffic in and outside of Deutsche Telekom, billions of voice minutes per year, go through our platform. We have an SMS platform that does aggregation. We have a lot of direct connectivities on that platform. And when I joined in 2019, I was kind of questioning a bit the trend of concern that in general classic traffic maybe going down, and was raising the point that, hey, we should set up what the others do. We have a lot of software companies that have added telco assets and monetize these assets and buy expensive telco expertise. And so I was kind of challenging that we could do the same. We are the telco. If we add that little bit of software in our platform stack, we can build a platform that is offering something similar, and that's essentially what we've built. We've done this in our team. We have different partnerships on different levels. Some of the partners as well here, but in our team we work with technology suppliers, and we are doing essentially the sales ourselves. So we are not reselling something. We work with a technology stack. We're using SignalWire under the hood. Yeah, the guys behind FreeSwitch, I think, fairly well known, and some other components, Mation, an open source platform for the workflow automation aggregation. So two suppliers. The rest of it is all built with a development team. So I'm in charge of the development team and kind of facilitating the product requests. What is the CPaaS platform? The CPaaS platform essentially, as mentioned, offers APIs on top of our integration platform. So it's no different routing, it's no different type of aggregation. You get essentially what you get directly now as an API. That's important also from a sales perspective, because the salespeople do not or should not, and it was a way until we got there. Last year I wouldn't have said that, but they should not learn necessarily how to sell APIs, because the customers, even coming to us on the wholesale side, they're asking for it. But they're used to selling SMS, they're used to selling voice, and they just need to sell a different kind of consuming these services. And thinking about it like that is, I think, quite important. So I don't have many slides. I also don't have technical slides showing you that there is a voice, a messaging layer, and then there is the API layer on top. But it's essentially, we look at it as we have voice and SMS, and we have different interfaces for it. We're even running a trial to have an MCP interface for it to access these same services directly through LLMs, for example. So I think it's important way of thinking about it. That's essentially just a different way of making assets you have and you're known for available in a different way. It's different to identity and network APIs. Yes, we had identity use cases, but these APIs weren't there. From the network APIs, the APIs weren't there. So it's exciting what these APIs enable. We sit on top of legacy business. There's a certain position we have there. There's a certain understanding our customers have, and we are building on that. We add to the mix RCS business messaging as well. So here we have as well an aggregation role. It's less of a technical aggregation. Many of you know that Google has a role here where a lot of the operators are connected to, and Google, through the Tribe acquisition, is running a large hub. What you don't solve there, of course, is the commercial side of it. So it's, again, needing to have a contract with every carrier on the way. We are trying to establish these contracts as well. We allow our customers to manage agents, deploy them on various networks, or operate on various networks by interconnecting with the Google platform and not having to deal with the commercials. We offer that again as a wholesale product, so anyone who wants to do their own business with that, they can just connect from a wholesale level the same way they would connect to Google. And we have that as well embedded in our CPaaS, of course, for anyone who wants to generate as well traffic on existing agents. And then we have some other services as well. What is Portal as a service? Maybe last mention, that whole platform we set up for direct business. It's not really enterprise business we are doing. We are the wholesale unit, so we enable others to do enterprise business. We are looking for direct customers, obviously, the larger ones, the larger traffic generators out there. They also come to us, they ask this from us, they want to skip certain intermediaries, so they want to work with the operators directly. It's good for us because we have direct customers. But on the other side, we want to enable in-house, but also external telcos with having a CPaaS platform, and not just having a CPaaS platform, but being able even to offer it with their own connectivity. So think of a carrier somewhere that has local trunks, local routing. The idea is very simplified. They plug their trunk into our platform. They get the technology layer. They get termination rest of world from us. They have their own termination, and they can white label the product to run CPaaS in there, and they get everything from connectivity over to CDR generation, managing their enterprises, and so on. So all of that is in there. One of the main drivers, that was already my last slide. One of the main drivers getting there is the European aspect, and the aspect of why we emphasize this European platform, and that is one that kind of, and a couple of you guys know because we worked on this, hit us when we wanted to set this up. I was coming from a smaller company that belonged to Telecom, where we did all of that on a US-based hyperscaler, and all of a sudden it was no longer possible. So we were not allowed to deploy communications elements, let's say, on US-based hyperscalers. So we wanted to be absolutely disconnected from that up to a point that we couldn't even use infrastructure that belongs to the big US hyperscaler. So we looked for partners that can do that, and what we realized is that this is not just a pain because we have to now go the more complicated way, but we very quickly realized this is well an asset because we have a lot of existing CPaaS users, CPaaS consumers that run on providers that cannot give them a data processing agreement without third countries, that have somewhere ties to the US, and when they want to offer to healthcare, when they want to offer to the public sector, for example, in Germany, they would have problems. So this was kind of the first, the most important for us, this sovereignty aspect, to have our own cloud, to host it in Europe, and to operate it from Europe. The next point, again, we are not marketing the early adopters for CPaaS. They choose the CPaaS companies because they want the latest and greatest feature set, and many other things. They're out there for a very long time. One target customer group we have are users already using a CPaaS platform. So we decided from an API perspective to have a compatibility layer. That means you're able to very easily migrate from one of the biggest platforms out there over to our platform. You just essentially need to switch the point you're connecting to, but the data format, the way you implemented your solution can stay the same. I also very much, I won't mention this all the time, but I also very much believe this is never going to be a black and white thing. So probably, eventually, maybe, hopefully, somebody chooses us and wants to use us only, but I don't think there will be a hard switch. So there's always, I think, going to be a multitude of platforms that some of the big players are using. So I think it's very important to be able to be easily integrated and to also anticipate that, right? So we have an API that works similar to what is de facto standard out there. On top of that, we do as well have very modern API, not even RESTful, so it goes beyond that. It's WebSocket based, very easy, has a very easy way also of building AI into that. We'll get to that, but there is not really demand we see yet. So that compatibility part is a very important one. For our platform, we also didn't, one important point as well, we didn't really go the way of saying what telcos sometimes do, sometimes it's right saying, hey, we need a standard for this. Let's wait for the standards, or let's bring it to the standard committees. I believe, and I've said this earlier as well on other places, for the communications part, same as for virtualization. There are de facto standards out there, ways you do it. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. The ways to do it are good. The aggregation happens on the level below. So yes, we need to interconnect, but we are interconnected. So having the API, I think it's much more important to be compatible with the real world. Make sure you use what others are using, but you don't need anything agreed by committee. For the communication part, yeah, it's different for other elements. Again, we have two models here, choices. You can either use it directly, or we can resell that in a PaaS mode, so platform as a service. You can get the platform with your connectivity and then scale it. Since we are often asked about challenges as well, one challenge I want to mention here right away is certainly education. Yeah, so educating already our sales guys, educating inside the company is already a tough job for that, because obviously they all know how to sell voice and SMS, but they all do this with the counterparts they used to have so far that used to buy the same thing they were selling. Now you have something new. And especially when you want to sell the platform to somebody whom you then expect to sell it further, you need a lot of understanding in that cascade of players until you finally reach the end customer. So that's technically looks very good. It also all works, but it's here and there a challenge, let's say, from a scalability perspective. You have to also reflect a bit on that. One point important as well, cost advantage. I'm not generally talking about overall prices, but of course you have all of that fueled with our wholesale connectivity, so you buy directly from the wholesaler, and we transparently add that CPaaS layer on top, so it's sustainable in itself. We are not doing blended routing or other things. You get from us the routing sheet, you know where we are connected, how we are connected, and you can expect the same behavior on the CPaaS side. That's a very important thing. That's not something you can necessarily get from competing platforms out there. And the last part is, of course, the brand recognition. So we see a lot of people, we saw actually increasing amount once people inside the company were aware of what we're doing. There is significant request to understand if telecom has something like that. They don't say you have a CPaaS, that's also very clear. So to also highlight a bit what other people said, nobody comes and specifies the things in technical terms, but they wonder if there wouldn't be another way of sending SMS than through a mobile phone. Can there not be a web interface? Can this not be automated? So there is usually, in the enterprise at least that we've spoken to, there's usually there's the demand, and they expect you as a big brand to have something like that. So I think every telco should reflect on having that. On the right side, let me see if I forgot something. I tried to bring that as well into the discussion. Of course, connectivity, quality connectivity, I'm not going to highlight. It's based on our intercarrier connectivity that is known to be good. Important are the direct interconnections for phone numbers as well as for the connectivity. So also from a telephony perspective, we see a lot of requests for clean numbers, for direct numbers, not so much driven by the fact that they need numbers, but there are companies needing numbers for specific use cases that use CPaaS interfaces and that cannot get this connectivity elsewhere, or at least not as easy as from us. And since we manage the hard part, the telco piece, the software part is fairly easy, I would say. So this is one of the things as well, where us being a telco is a certain differentiator, at least in what our customers tell us. And again, it's usually not black and white. It's just that if you have numbers for a certain region, that's usually the starting point, and then you can build from there. And if you have interfaces that are compatible with other solutions, you can build on top of that. The point I want to close with is the API integration platform, helping to address use cases. I believe we are not out there to sell APIs. I don't really think you sell APIs. You sell what's behind them. You sell the capabilities. And when we talk about enterprises, you don't even sell that, but you want to sell a solution to a problem. And usually if I say I have a communication API and I have a customer who says, hey, cool, I have something in Salesforce, could I do a lookup and then greet the person or read an announcement? And you say, yes, of course you can do it. I've been in many conversations where then the expectation was on the other side, so how to do it, and explaining them, well, you need to build an integration, you need to put it out there, you need to host it, and so on, was a showstopper and a tedious thing. So we have this thing integrated. We have an integration platform where you can plug in services out there, internet services, Salesforce, CRMs, other communications platforms. You can plug in, all our services are plugged in, and you can essentially wire them together, all as a part of the managed service, all part of the sovereign cloud, everything part of that reseller solution as well, that helps in the end our customers to not sell APIs or sell CPaaS, but actually address use cases in a very efficient way. I gave a talk in Munich about that. It's on YouTube. It's been quite reflected positively also inside the company, because it's getting less technical in the discussion, but really more about as well what the customer is asking us. All right, it was just 50 minutes, so thanks a lot for that quick run. Over to Mark.
Thank you very much.
Not Mark,
Nikolai.
Sorry.
All good. Second day. Fantastic. That was great. A lot of insights again on Deutsche Telekom, on the story behind it.